Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Develop podcast series. This is your host, Danielle Reynolds, and I'm excited to be back with you all to develop, connect, and inspire together. As always, I would love to connect with each of you on LinkedIn and engage with you as you all are developing in your careers. Today, we are covering a very important topic to your growth and development, and that is marketing yourself internally at your company and externally early in your career. If you know me, then you know I am passionate about this. I believe there is so much value in beginning to build your brand now, getting involved within your company and also your community, and becoming not just an ambassador for your company, but also for yourself. So it would be a total disservice to you all if I didn't bring in our very special guest for today, and that is Kristen Lollar. Kristen is the Director of Marketing here at Whitley, Penn, and has over 20 years of marketing experience. Kristen knows her stuff. She is experienced in literally all aspects of marketing, including advertising campaigns, competitive intelligence research, public relations, media relations, building websites, you name it, and she has certainly done it and has been a part of it. She is also very active within other organizations, including the American Marketing Association, Association of Accounting Marketers, Texas Tech Alumni Association, and is a Plano Chamber board member, just to name a few. So we will certainly explore why being involved outside of your company is so important, and Kristen is an amazing example of this. So thank you, Kristen, for joining me today and sharing your knowledge with our audience.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to doing the podcast with you.
Well, I'm so excited, so I'm ready to just get right into it.
All right.
You are a wealth of knowledge in regards to marketing, public relations, and overall branding strategies for the firm and how it leads to growth. So tell me a little bit about why you love what you get to do.
Well, I love that each new day is a challenge. So whether that's trying to work with a new professional that's brand new in their career or someone more seasoned, I like being able to work with them individually. Nobody fits inside a box. So what works for development for one person is not going to work for the next one. So we get to just be passionate about our creativity, try to find new ways to get them involved, to get them to see ways that they can offer their expertise to other people. And so that's always a challenge. I like just being creative in general. So whether it's coming up with new podcast topics or ways that we can enhance our website that draws more people to the site to engage in the services we provide, or it's just getting the one person in the firm that maybe hasn't been using marketing services to finally get them on board and use us. We love those challenges, and so that's exciting to me.
Yeah, it's probably been really exciting with, all our continued growth at the firm and the more professionals you get to keep meeting on a daily basis.
For sure. I mean, when I joined the firm, we had about 200 people in the firm, and we've grown to over 600 employees, and we just keep continuing to expand. We've added service lines, and so with each one of those different steps in growth come new challenges. Having to create marketing materials, having to work on biographies and try to add to the website or advertise a new service line. How can we make that known internally to our employees, but also externally to the market?
Yeah, so it seems like it's a lot of fun work. Keeps you on your toes and keeps you certainly busy. So as I mentioned, there are so many different aspects to marketing, and there are a lot of ways to get involved even within your own organization. So tell me some benefits of why employees should utilize their marketing departments and resources that probably most of their companies are offering.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think it's as the professional doing the work, you are the subject matter expert. But sometimes I think it's difficult to take the knowledge that you have and present it in a way that can be received by the client. So what the marketing team likes to do is we like to take a different perspective and step back. And if it's in a sense kind of dumbing it down a little bit so it's not so technical, we want to be able to rephrase the information so that still is getting the same point across, but is something that can be received by the recipient. So I think using a marketing team to help create the materials, to create the messaging, frees up the time for the professional to actually go out and do the business. But so we're preparing the materials, we're looking at the makeup of a company, we're helping to guide and direct the presentation. But it allows our people to pay attention to what that they do best, which is the technical side.
For sure. I think collaboration is key, right?
Yes.
And knowing your superpowers, right? So that is something you and your team are really good at, and you then allow the client service professionals to do what they're really good at.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I love that. What are some great ways to begin to market yourself internally?
Well, I think first and foremost, just being present. Whether it's in a meeting or it's physically in your space or even on virtual meetings right now in this environment, I think it's important to be present. Make sure people know you're eager, that you want to learn. If you're trying to figure out where your niche is going to be, talk to people in those industry groups where you actually have an interest. If you really want to know what's going on in the real estate industry, then let's work with those leaders to find a way for you to get involved and really to dive in. Because I think until you find your passion, you're just learning technical things, which is great. But you're going to be more apt to develop business and to grow in your career something that you have an interest in.
For sure. And I always say, attitude and effort is key. And you've got to really find what you love to do so that you can continue to grow.
For sure. And I think, too, in volunteering, like different things with recruiting. Whether it's on campus or it's just an opportunity to represent the firm at an event we're doing with clients, whether it's virtual or in person, be available. Let people see that you are wanting to help represent the firm and spread the message.
Love it. So everyone, raise your hand, and there's so many ways to get involved.
Absolutely.
So ask your resources. So you work with different levels at our firm. So tell me how marketing yourself varies at each level.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, very early in your career, you're just trying to learn what do you do as an audit associate. But the more senior they are in their career, they have the same struggles. It's all messaging. So I think internally, again, being able to talk with the superiors in certain ways. Some of our more senior professionals, I schedule time in person. Or I schedule a video conference, or we talk on the phone rather than an instant message or a text or something like that. So figuring out, again, the communication style for that professional and who your audience is. Tailor that message that way. I think once you get to a manager level, being able to make the opportunities to make the introductions. Now, I'm not saying you can't do that at an early age, because from the time you join the firm, you have your own circle of influence. You have your own network. So being able to recognize family members, friends of your family who might have a particular need, leaving your ears open to what that need may be, and then making the connection. You can do that at any age or at any level within the firm. So I think recognizing the opportunity and jumping on that from day one is key.
Love it. A lot of power in listening, right?
Absolutely.
So what do you think the most effective ways are to start to build your professional brand? And do you have any examples to share with us of folks that market themselves really well?
Absolutely. I mean, educate. Can't say it enough. If you're not reading industry publications, or if you're not reading publications that have to do with your profession, so for us, the accounting industry, it's key to know what is happening in the industry as a whole, what's happening in our geographic location, and then what we talked about a little bit with different industries. If you have an interest in technology or healthcare, what's happening in those industries? And is there a subject matter piece that we should be putting out for our clients or prospects? Making sure that you are attuned to what's going on in business. So I can't say it enough. Educate. Volunteering your time, volunteering to write. I think that's huge, especially internally. It speaks volumes for your willingness to be a team player. So if you see a trend that's coming up, approaching maybe your manager or senior manager or partner and say, hey, I'm willing to write this for you. Can we ghostwrite this together? Work with the marketing team and start to position yourself as being one of those thought leaders at a very early age, or just someone who's eager to get involved. When you find your passion and you take a chance, the sky is the limit. So I just would encourage people to take a chance. And a great example of this, when I joined the firm in 2012, I remember having lunch with a manager at the time and him telling me, one day I'm going to run this certain industry within the firm. And I thought, wow, that's really ambitious. And sure enough, you fast forward and he is running that industry group and he is leading one of our offices and he is a very dynamic developer. but he knew what he wanted. He set that goal, and he took the steps that he needed to step up, volunteer, make himself available, and execute what needed to happen to get where he has today.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah.
And I think, maybe go back to the writing. That's not your skill. Well, you've got the resources to help you get there if you want to work on that or build upon that skill, and if that's important to you. So utilizing them is key.
And I think that's another way that, looking at your resources. So for our marketing department, we have a lot of people in the firm that are interested in writing. So whether it's a blog entry or they want to do even a podcast, coming up with a topic and then seeking out other people within the firm that can help you craft that messaging, that makes it a lot easier than having to come up with I need 1,000-word article.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe it's a conversation you have with somebody, and then you can work with a marketing team to help wordsmith that article.
Yeah, certainly a great resource. So do you believe your professional brand, that you create can start to change over time? And maybe are there benefits to this as we are evolving in our careers?
Yes, for sure. For both of those. I mean, for example, I started my career in the legal industry, and I spent many years in the legal industry, but I think that was instrumental to paving the path to where I am now. I think your brand can change, and I think, honestly, it should. Mm-hmm. When you start out your career as a brand new junior professional, you shouldn't still be in the same spot when you're 5-10 years down the line. You should be able to expand as you grow. So I think just taking the time to work on your brand is key. And a lot of people get sidetracked with the technical. And I'm not saying you should compromise technical, because that should never be the case. But take the time to work on you. Things that help you grow and help you stretch as a professional as you continue to expand in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say I'm a first-year staff employee on the client professional side and really have no idea where to start with how to market myself. What are some easy ways I can start to get involved internally at my company, and why? What is the importance of doing so?
Ask a lot of questions. There's never a dumb question. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're all learning and changing every single day, as is the industry. So like we mentioned before, reading those industry-related publications, reading the professional publications, being present, volunteering to write, asking the right questions, showing interest, all of those things together will help you grow. And when you come in as a young professional, it's sometimes intimidating to step out and be the one that asks the questions. So if you're not comfortable talking to a superior, talk to somebody who's just right, like maybe a year or two older than you. And what was important to you when you first joined the firm? What are the things, or who are the people I should be meeting? Mm-hmm. And then if you're still a little insecure, talk to the person who recruited you to the firm, whether it be somebody from a talent acquisition department, or it is one of your friends from college that recruited you to come work there. What drew you to that organization, and what have they done to continue to grow? I think it's just a lot of questions. It shouldn't be something that's so cumbersome that it's just intimidating. Take it baby steps.
Yeah, we always encourage our interns to ask a lot of questions, and I'm like, y'all are going to be in front of partners, managers, and take advantage of that. Ask them how they got to be where they are at now, and really then be a sponge, right? And see what they're doing, and if that's what is admirable to you, then you can do the same thing. So asking them the right questions certainly helps with that.
And people are comfortable talking about themselves.
Yeah, people love to talk about themselves.
Exactly. It's easy to talk about your track and how you've gotten where you are. And so being proactive and asking the questions rather than waiting for somebody just to share is key.
Yeah, and I think even for like our managers and above, that looks really great to them too.
Absolutely.
It makes it look like you are engaged and excited and eager and really show and have that interest. So it's so important. So for our campus recruiting strategies here at the firm, we really use this marketing and firm branding approach when we're out in campus connecting with students and empowering them to find their perfect fit, hopefully with us. So how can students start to develop their own brand while still in school, and what is some of your best advice for them?
I would just advise you to get involved. Get involved on campus. If there's an accounting association, get involved there. If there's opportunity to work as a chancellor's ambassador or with the student alumni board. Start those relationships while you're still in school, and then grow on those as you continue to grow through your career. So as soon as you graduate, then make sure you're maintaining that network of people that you already had when you were on campus. Because today they may be at an entry-level position as well, but they are tomorrow's CEOs and owners of companies. So if you maintain that relationship from day one, it's so much easier to sell your business to them at a later date because that relationship's already intact.
Yeah. Huge advantage to build your network now, even in school. So with that, let's dive into LinkedIn. We all know, I'm a huge proponent of utilizing LinkedIn as a professional platform when building your brand, networking, engaging. So what are your thoughts on LinkedIn and marketing, even both personally as a professional and as a company?
I love it. I think LinkedIn is one of the greatest things that has presented itself to us in recent years, but also, it is a social media platform that is well respected and worldwide. Mm-hmm. So your connections, they could just continue to go on and on and on. So I think it's easy to work with LinkedIn, to connect, share information, make connections with people you've met along the way. It's an easy platform. The content is already there. You can share it. So I think it's wonderful. I think it's important to show that you're committed to LinkedIn, both personally, but also with your company, sharing their content, showing that you're an ambassador for that organization. So I'm a big proponent of LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, and like you said, they make it pretty easy. Even if you don't want to develop your own content, odds are, even with Whitley Penn, we are sharing content every single day, valuable content to our industry, to our clients, and you simply sharing that with your network, you never know where the opportunities are going to come from.
That's right.
So I know we have a lot of success stories with LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
So we love LinkedIn. So so I believe business development and marketing go completely hand in hand. So how can young professionals start to develop their business development strategies now, even though, it may not seem like they won't really get involved with that until later on in their career?
Well, I think like we talked about before, everybody has a circle of influence. And so yours early on in your career may be family members, or it may be, sorority sisters or somebody that you've known from college. But the important things to remember is that people need to know where you work, what you do, and how you could help them. And as long as that message is clear, at any point in your career, it's easier for you to, quote unquote, sell your services. If they know what you do, how it can help them, then they are more apt to ask you when the need arises. So, for example, a young professional may not be an expert in all things healthcare or tax healthcare related. But if you have a family friend who is a CEO or a CFO of a healthcare organization and they have said, oh, you're working at Whitley Penn now, well, what do they do? It's easy enough for you to make an introduction to one of our other professionals and help make that connection so they can explain what we do if you're not quite sure. Or use some of the marketing materials we have available to send them a quick PDF and say, it was so great to see you over the holidays. Here's a little bit about the firm I'm working with now and their expertise in this area. I would love to make an introduction for you to one of the professionals. But very early on in your career, by listening and then being able to make the connections, that is a great way for you to, again, expand your presence internally, developing your brand internally as being a connector, and externally showing the willingness to help out a potential client or a family friend.
Yeah, and you touched on something there about, knowing what your firm or company does, right? Knowing all the services they provide has a huge benefit. Maybe that's not something you specifically do or going to be working on in your career, but odds are, someone at your company might have that knowledge that you can go back and connect them with. So I think doing that early on in your career, right, just knowing more about your company that you're working at and what all they provide and do, I think is huge. And as we're continuing to grow, you mentioned all these new industries and service lines. That's really important to stay up to date with everything your company is doing.
Absolutely. Make sure you understand what is on your website, what resources are available, and if you don't know, then ask those questions we were talking about before.
I know you do a great job, always promoting on day one, even to our interns, check out the website, check out the internet, research that information, and it's so valuable. So connecting with people is huge, right? Especially in our industry and for our client service professionals. What is the importance of connecting with people, and how does your brand, that you've created or are beginning to create, play a role in this?
Well, it's imperative for continuous growth. I mean, make sure that your personal brand is professional and neutral. I mean, you want to be firm and you want to show, confidence and be authoritative, but you don't want to be polarizing. And so that's somewhere where you have to be a little bit sensitive, but at the same time, make sure people know I am a tax professional at this organization, or I have this expertise. I have obtained these credentials. It's important for you to share that. And then internally make sure that people know when you've obtained those credentials. So letting your marketing team know so it can be properly promoted. And so then also people know, oh, they're a certified fraud examiner. I could include them in this potential proposal for a client. So I think it's really important.
Yeah. And your marketing team is your hype squad, right? Any
Yes.
company you're at. So promoting yourself, those credentials or great things you're doing in the company or organization or externally. I'm like, your marketing team is there to hype you up and promote that. So utilize that. That's a huge part of your, marketing and brand that you're building.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to promote yourself. Mm-hmm. Because when you think about like a firm like Whitley Penn, we have over 600 employees. It is tough for the marketing team to know who's doing what. So we are big advocates of people promoting what they have done, whether it is obtaining a credential or that they did something that we want to celebrate that has nothing to do with the accounting profession.
Right. People need that too. They need to know that, and that's part of your brand. So let's talk about external events. I know we all haven't attended an in-person event in what seems like a really long time, but I think there are a lot of opportunities there to market not only yourself, but also your company. So do you have any advice for professionals attending events, and what goals maybe these young professionals can have and start to work towards as they begin to start attending events in their careers?
For sure. I mean, when you have the opportunity, do it. And whether it's a virtual event or an in-person event, take that chance, make sure you attend it. And while you're there, challenge yourself. Connect with 3 people. And with those 3 people, find something that you can follow up with them. And if you meet somebody and it's not going to be the right connection, then move on. But commit to any, happy hour or networking event or client event, meet 3 people and immediately follow up with them. Connect through LinkedIn. Find a time to make a next step, whether it's, I really enjoyed meeting you, would love to meet for coffee and talk a little bit more about what your company has to offer. Or it's, I saw this article on sailing and I remember we talked about it, and just make that connection. But put it back on yourself to follow up.
Mm-hmm. Very true. I remember you shared this tip about when you get a business card of writing something you remembered about that person, so that when you follow up with them and you remembered that, to them it's so meaningful, right?
Yes.
And that you cared and showed interest in them. So I always remember that tip that you shared with me.
Well, and I have to do that too, because sometimes it's hard you remember meeting people, but if you commit to 3 people at a networking event, you met 20. Then you have to remember those 3 that you want to follow up with.
Yeah.
So when I leave an event, I immediately will sit in my car and write on the business card whatever it is that I remembered about them, or something that we had in connection, to make that follow up.
Yeah, and a lot of time of events nowadays, you can see a list of who's going to be there.
It's true.
Before you even attend it. So, put some time and thought into who you want to get in front of. Like, you have the opportunity there, so make it work.
And that's really important from a development standpoint. If you do have the opportunity to review an attendee list and you can recognize targets that your firm or your organization has been wanting to get in front of, then seek out those people. Look for opportunities to be introduced to those folks. If you're a sponsor of the event, then be sure the sponsor knows, hey, I would like to be introduced to this organization. And then put that back on them to make the introduction.
Yeah. So marketing yourself is about being proactive.
It is.
And I love it. So you're involved with a lot of organizations outside of Whitley Penn. And I too really believe that being involved plays a huge benefit in our growth and development. So tell me how this relates to both marketing yourself internally and externally, and what benefits it has for you in your career.
I mean, I keep saying it goes back to your circle of influence, but it really does. So if you maintain that network from an early age and you just grow on that and you continue to be a referral source to other people, it will come full circle. If you're really good about making introductions and connecting people, over time, people will come back and they will do the same for you. And so just looking for those opportunities, again, making sure they know where you work, what you do, and how you could help them, then it becomes very easy when you're looking to ask them for business later on.
Yeah, and I mean, getting involved with organizations outside your own, I feel like there's so much value because you learn a lot, different perspectives of people at different
Absolutely.
companies that you learn from and come together and build those relationships with. So I think that plays a huge benefit in your own growth of just learning about different industries outside your own.
For sure, and specifically to the marketing messaging, it allows me to understand that the message that we give to a large public company is very different than the messaging that we present to a family-owned business. So being able to tailor the same business message, but for the recipient, is key.
Yeah, and I love it. And another great thing about organizations, I think, is it exposes you to things that maybe you wouldn't be normally exposed to, right? Like maybe a normal, internal firm, presentation or event that we do. But some of these things, that are discussed at like any type of chamber in your local city, I mean, that just exposes you to more things that you probably wouldn't have even thought to normally attend.
Absolutely.
So I love going to all the events.
Me too.
So are there any other ways, marketing yourself externally, like what this really means, and are there any different ways that this could look like besides attend or being a part of different organizations?
Well, I think being active on LinkedIn, figuring out what works for you. If you are just more comfortable sharing other people's content, then do that. If you're comfortable creating content, whether that be video or written content, do that. Volunteer, whether it's with your child's soccer team, or it's at your church, or you love animals and want to volunteer with the SPCA, whatever that is, don't just volunteer to volunteer. Make sure you use that as a platform. And again, people know where you work, what you do, how you could help them. And then seek to get on a board position and to be in more of a leadership position. So I think just recognizing all those opportunities and not feeling so overwhelmed of, oh my gosh, I have to attend 3 networking events today or this week or this month. Then make it a little bit more casual of, well, I'm going to church on Sunday, so I'm going to try to make a connection with so-and-so, or, my child is involved in gymnastics, and I know this other mom is on the board of this organization. Make those connections and make it just be very natural.
Yeah, so it can fit right into your daily life and what
Absolutely.
You're already doing. And I feel like sometimes folks get overwhelmed, like I have to attend all these different events and build out my calendar, and it really doesn't seem like it has to be that difficult.
No, and I think especially with a virtual environment, sometimes it's just picking up the phone and making a call rather than sending the email or saying, hey, would love to grab coffee, or just making it more personal rather than always selling.
Yeah, I think people love that side.
Absolutely.
The more personal side. The business side, it's probably going to come sooner or later, but people just want to connect with you. And
they do.
Yeah, I love that. So trends are always changing, updating, evolving, just like everything else. How do you keep updated on new marketing trends, tools, techniques, or what resources do you rely on to keep you up to speed with what's going on and how to stay connected within your industry?
Well, I definitely be involved in the organizations for our industry, with the Association of Accounting Marketers, and then with the American Marketing Association. I get to see both sides. So I see specific for the accounting industry, and then what's happening for marketing professionals in general in corporate America. But I think also reading Inside Public Accounting, reading Accounting Today, reading local business publications, what's happening in the market, knowing enough to have conversations and knowing enough to kind of be proactive in those conversations, I think is very, very important.
Yeah. So you're a lifelong learner.
I'm a lifelong learner. and there are little things that I subscribe to, even little just newsletters that are specific to search engine optimization or things that are specific to marketing that I'm just interested in.
Yeah.
Like, what do we need to change for my department, and how does this benefit the firm and external? So I think you just have to figure out what your passion is, and then two, how can you help people? Because if you can send them those thought leadership pieces that will help them or their business, then they know you're being proactive and thinking of them.
Yeah, I think that's a huge point, is how can you help others? And if that's how you start to market yourself when you're out at events or connecting with people, that's going to take you a long ways.
Absolutely.
So lastly, what is your best career advice you have ever received? Or do you have any helpful resources that we can share with our audience?
I mean, advice, just don't be afraid to take chances. When you fail forward. Mm-hmm. Learn from that opportunity and move forward. I think once you get a little bit further in your career, I remember I had a boss many years ago that told me, if you are still doing the same job in 3 years that you're doing today, and you have a career, or you're career driven and you want to grow and excel, then I failed in my job of training you. So I think recognizing, are you getting the mentoring that you need? Are you personally educating yourself? Are you pushing yourself? Are you asking for opportunities? And you want to project your career forward, make it happen. I think that the mind is a powerful thing. If you set goals and you are passionate about them, you're going to achieve them. Mm-hmm. So looking for the people who can champion you along the way and support those goals and make sure they're aligned with your organization. But again, ask for it. Don't be afraid to take those chances.
Yeah, those are great tips. And you've got to be your own, best cheerleader too.
Absolutely.
And I love, don't think that you're ever failing, right? It's always going to lead you to more growth, and you're going to learn from it and be better the next go around. So
they're just stepping stones in your career.
For sure. And the path to, success, it's a winding one, right? You're going backwards, forwards, sideways, all over the place. So I love that. That was great advice.
Sure.
So Kristen, really thank you so much for joining me today. I loved our conversation, and you are so inspiring to so many of us, and there's so many benefits of building our brand and really marketing ourselves, and you're a great champion for that, for our firm, but also for so many other professionals. I know mentoring is a huge thing that you love to do, so I just appreciate everything you shared with us today.
Thank you. It's been great being with you today.
Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.